Yo, what is up, guys? XRP is at $1.40 right now in CoinMarketCap. This content is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not financial advice. Nothing in this video is a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold XRP or any other asset. Our first tweet comes from Watcher Guru. Just in, Japan to launch blockchain-based system for instant settlement of stocks and government bonds. Japan is making a pretty big move into blockchain. The Financial Services Agency, Ministry of Finance, and Bank of Japan are all working on a blockchain-based settlement system for Japanese government bonds and stocks. And we're not talking about a tiny market here, it's roughly a $7 trillion market. The goal is basically to move away from the old delayed settlement system and toward real-time 24/7 settlement. The study group is expected to start this summer with a development plan targeted for early 2027. Japan isn't just talking about blockchain anymore, they're actually looking at how to rebuild part of their financial infrastructure around it. Our next tweet comes from Crypto Barbie. Massive. CNBC says that the Clarity Act could be a good upside catalyst, but crypto will persist without it. Let's watch this video.
Do we have full clarity on the Clarity Act, or is it still unclarity?
It's very unclarity, Brian. A lot of investors...
We're inventing words here. That's what we're doing. I love it.
We love it. That's what we do here. A lot of investors that I talked to thinking it is kind of dead in the water for 2026 and could get delayed till 2027. If that's the case, though, I think the status on regulation is that the SEC and the CFTC are still largely much more supportive of the crypto industry than we could say about the previous administration. So even without this legislation becoming law this year, if that's what turns out to be the case, the crypto industry, I mean, it would be a good upside catalyst, but they will persist.
The September 15 Clarity Act deadline is getting a lot of attention, but there's something people are missing. Even if Congress doesn't get the bill across the finish line immediately, crypto isn't going to stop moving forward. CNBC basically made that point this week, saying Clarity could be a major upside catalyst, but the industry will continue with or without it. And that's important when you look at what's happening right now. Japan is working on blockchain settlement. The SEC is changing its approach to crypto. XRP ETFs are getting more regulatory attention. The infrastructure isn't waiting around for one Senate vote. Smash that subscribe button and hit that like button if you believe XRP will reach $3 again this year. Our next tweet comes from the Crypto Square XRP ETF update. The SEC has published a new filing related to the 21 shares XRP ETF tied to XRP. Another regulatory filing, another step forward for XRP on Wall Street. The institutional infrastructure around XRP keeps getting bigger, and we're still early. Our next tweet comes from the Crypto Square, Clarity September 15th. Former House Financial Services Committee Chairman Patrick McHenry believes Congress can get crypto market structure legislation passed. September 15 could be a huge day. For XRP holders, regulatory clarity in the US is getting closer. The countdown is on. Let's watch this video.
When people are starting to murmur and complain, as they are right now, it tells me that September 15th will be a good vote for crypto.
You have argued that the Clarity Act is the most important technology law since the Telecoms Act. Does this thing actually get passed before midterms?
Well, we'll see September 15th. All signs lead to senators being uncomfortable and going in a bunch of different directions this August. That tells me, as a longtime hand here in Washington, that it will be a good vote September 15th. When everybody's agreeing well ahead of a vote, it is bad news. And when people are starting to murmur and complain, as they are right now, it tells me that September 15th will be a good vote for crypto. But leading into the midterms, the open question here is if they can't get it done September 15th, I think they will, what happens then? And the midterms were going to be a very big indicator of the power of the crypto voter and the activism from Fairshake on making sure that those messages are heard.
I'm glad you brought in the
voters.
crypto voter. Do you think the crypto voter is actually powerful, or do you think what's powerful is the crypto lobby?
I think it's the crypto voter enables the crypto lobby to actually get things done. The fact is the banks have been well arrayed here in Washington for a very long time, for generations. Crypto has only been around here in Washington for less than 5 years. And so they're trying to make headway. But what they're trying to convey to policymakers is that their voters at home care very much about these innovation policies and will punish those that stand in the way of it. This midterms, that may be important. But going into the next presidential election, you see a Democratic Party wanting to be pro-technology just as well as the Republicans do. And I think that will have a lot of sway, not just in the midterms, but in the next presidential.
Patrick McHenry just weighed in on the September 15 Clarity Act timeline, and he thinks Congress can get it done. That matters because McHenry isn't some random person making a prediction on social media. He previously chaired the House Financial Services Committee and was heavily involved in the House's crypto legislation. So when he says there's a path forward, it's worth paying attention to. Now the big question is whether lawmakers can actually get the votes when they return in September. Our next tweet comes from Paul Barron. Under Chair Paul Atkins, the SEC just dropped a fit-for-purpose regulatory framework designed specifically for crypto. Key impact, institutional custody, modernization, updates rules for RIAs, and funds to hold digital assets legally and seamlessly. Predictability over litigation replaces subjective enforcement actions with clear forms, Form NOR, Form TR, and standardized disclosures. Keeps innovation onshore. Tailored rules replace 1930s stock laws. Capital, talent, and builders stay in the US instead of fleeing offshore. Our next tweet comes from Zave Crypto. Bond settlement is arcane and broken. Brad Garlinghouse said it, now Japan is proving it. FSA plus Ministry of Finance plus Bank of Japan just greenlit work on instant 24/7 blockchain settlement for JGBs and stocks. $7 trillion plus market, development plan due 2027. The old rails are being rebuilt in real time. XRPL was just built for exactly this shift. Watch this pace. Let's watch this video.
Kind of built in at the base level. There's a bunch of industries I don't know that much about. I read about things like bond settlement. Bond settlement is slow, it is arcane, and it is absurd to think about how that works in a world of the internet. And I think it's only a matter of time before you see things like bond settlement move to on-chain. And to the extent Ripple can help catalyze those things to leverage the XRP ledger, fabulous. But again, I don't want to leave people the impression it is going to be a multi-chain world. The XRP ledger is exceptionally good at some things and not good at some other things. And that's okay. Like almost by design, like that's good. Because if you try to be all things to all people, you're going to be less good at other things. You're going to slow the transaction speed down. You're going to impact cost per transaction. You're going to, we have an amazing underlying infrastructure that's really good for certain things, and let's invest and go after those things.
Brad Garlinghouse has been saying for years that traditional bond settlement is outdated. Now look at what's happening in Japan. The country's financial regulator, Ministry of Finance, and central bank are working on a blockchain-based system for selling government bonds and stocks. We're talking about a market worth roughly $7 trillion. The idea is to make settlement faster and eventually move toward 24/7 processing. That's exactly the kind of financial infrastructure Ripple has been talking about for years. Our next tweet comes from Bank XRP. Big news from Japan. Japan's FSA, Ministry of Finance, and Bank of Japan are teaming up to build a blockchain-based settlement system for stocks and government bonds, targeting real-time 24/7 settlement instead of the current T+1 T+2 wait. A study group launched this summer with a development plan expected by early 2027 and a possible go-live in the early 2030s. Real quick, if this helped, press the like button. It tells YouTube to show this to people who want the truth, not hype. And press the subscribe button if you're done being sold the moon. I've already got your next one right here. Go!